So hello everybody, welcome back. So today we are going to be flying the King Air C90. So, hope you guys are ready. Today we are going to cover the full startup procedure, as well as taxi, and yeah, to get it basically ready for taxi from completely cold and dark. So the procedures we're going to be using are actually they're included with X-Plane. You go to your X-Plane folder. I have it installed in Steam, so mine's Steam Common, Steam Apps Common, X-Plane 11. So if you've got it installed externally, it's probably in Program Files or Program Files 86, X-Plane 11. But then you go into Aircraft, Laminar Research, which are the default ones, which they came up with and they built. Then in the King Air C90B, and the file that we're using is the X-Plane C90B Pilot Operating Manual. Down at the very bottom, there's a bunch of checklists. Those are the ones we're going off of. So, let's get started. We are assuming we've done a walk around, all the lights work, everything else. So, exterior inspection is complete. Power levels are idle. Let's make sure they're all connected. That's idle. Those are full. We're gonna modify those in a second. I'm actually gonna make sure we have flight controls. We do. Cool. Alright. Power levels idle. Prop, which is this blue one, full forward. Back is feather. It's full forward. Condition levers are cut off. So they're completely back. Condition levers are just the fuel levers. Alright. Let's get started. Battery switch. On. Some stuff happened. That means we got battery power. All switches are off. Those are all off. Good. Fuel quantity. We have fuel. That's all we're really looking for in this one. If you're actually doing a cross-country flight, you need to plan out the amount of fuel you're using, your fuel burn, everything else. So for now, any fuel means we can start up, which means we're good. Inverter on. We're going to turn it to number 1. Then we want the right condition lever to low idle. Low idle. And then we hold the right ignition and engine start switch to on. So, ignition and engine start, right one, on. I'm actually going to put on headphones because I need to hear it. She's spinning. We are watching the torque gauge rise. Prop is rising. Turbine is rising. Technically, you're supposed to wait because the way that they did it, this can cause a hot start. It seems they didn't model it, which is kind of good, kind of bad. But, yeah. And, of course, you guys won't be able to hear it because it's not picking it up. It's unfortunate. Let me see if I can't get you guys. Oh yeah, you can hear that. Alright, we'll keep it pretty low. But there you go, now you can hear it. We have the first one on. We did not have a hot start, nor did we have a hung start where the the turbine RPM doesn't rise. This is prop RPM. So that's the spinny bit on the front. In one is actually the jet turbine inside of it that's spinning. So we're all good on the right one. Now we come over. We're actually going to turn the ignition lever off. Now that we're completely started, it's self-sustaining, doesn't need the additional electricity going there. So, oil pressure is good. Alright, now we set the right to high. Watch everything. We did not go hot. Prop came up, turbine came up, fuel flow went up. Oil pressure is in the green, and temperature as well. So, right is good. Now let's turn on the right generator. Gen 2, on. You don't need to reset it, but it's on. And the engine auto ignition, we want that on. Huh. Yep. That's on. So now we're going to go left auto ignition on. Left condition lever to idle. Engine start. She started turning. We're watching. Make sure this doesn't go above that red line. If it does, we're in trouble. Good. Our turbine is rising. Prop is coming up. We do not have a hot start, nor do we have a hung start. So, both those are good. Oil is coming up. Everything is stabilized, including temperature. We're now going to go to full up. And we're going to watch the prop come up, the turbine come up. Fuel flow's good. We're good. Cool. So we don't have a hot start or a hung start. Now to continue with this checklist, we go. Auto ignitions are going to stay on for the duration of the flight. The left conditions, high idle. All the pressures are good. RPMs are good. Left generator. We can turn that off. Left generator on. I'm going to get rid of a little bit of that noise. Let it feather a little bit. Alright. And it's supposed to be left to high idle, but that's fine. Okay. They're missing a couple things in here. No, they're not. Okay, so we are now to the before taxi checklist. The aircraft is basically started up. We just don't have any avionics. We don't have any of all those important bits. So, we're going to go flaps, retract it all the way. Let's see. That's flaps for me. So flaps are up. Avionics master, down here. Should turn on you. That turns on all these guys. That's good. EFIS power, which I always lose. I don't use the EFIS power too often. EFIS power on. Good. Radios. We need to get ATIS at this point. If you're going to be flying IFR flights, this is where you're going to get a whole lot of that information. So you're going to get your next frequency, you're going to get your transponder, the works. So we're actually going to turn this guy off because we don't want it to be prop syncing, say if we have an engine failure on takeoff. If they prop sync, it'll feather, I don't know if it'll feather both, but yeah. So lights, we're going to turn on our beacon and strobe as well as our tail flood. We want to be proud of this company because we work for it, I guess. That's it for now. Alright, so the next thing we've got to do is tune in ATIS, and we've got to get that information down. So ATIS is the automated, I don't know, I should probably look that up before trying to say what it is, but essentially it's the automated weather service. It's automated something weather information service, but I don't know. So we're going to tune ATIS, which is 125.0. Go here. 125.0.
Colorado Springs Muni Information Lima. 1900 Zulu weather. Wind calm. Visibility more than 10.
Ooh.
Sky clear. Temperature 2.0.
Those are Celsius.
Altimeter 2992.
It's easy.
Arriving runways 17 left, 17
Really?
right, 31. Departing runways 17 right, 31. Advise on initial contact. You have Lima.
Okay, so the information that we needed out of that. We needed to know the winds, the directions, the temperature. That's more important in the bigger jets. We don't really put in the temperature in this one, but when you get the temperature in the big ones, that actually is one of the variables that you put in to actually get everything set up. For us, though, we needed a couple of different things out of that. One of them is the barometric pressure, which was 2992. Normally, it's not 2992. That is perfect pressure at sea level. Say it was 30, we would quick. We would tune this number to 30 and our altitude will essentially change. But since we have 2992, we set that to 2992 and we should be at 6,100 feet, 6,120. So that should be our airport elevation, and when I look at it, we are correct. So we are at the right altitude. Our altimeter is not broken. So that's the altimeter check, just to make sure that it's working. They also told us that they're taking off and landing 17 and 31. So when we pull up the airport diagram, that means we can take off and land. Oh, they've got us at the other side. They're literally going in any direction. So 17 is heading south at this airport. There are two parallel runways. Normally they'll take off one and they'll land the other. The other option is to take off on 31, which is the military runway, which is diagonal. It goes next to Peterson. We're going to take that one. Normally when you call tower, they're going to tell you, you're going to say, we'd like to remain in the pattern. They'll probably give you 31 or... Yeah, they'll give you 3-1 because they want you on the outside. It's a lot of cross traffic if they put you on the diagonal runways. Usually they'll only land military jets on those guys. Actually, they tend to land them on the other ones even then. But, yeah. So, at this point, we would call tower and say, Springs Tower, King Air 123, at the terminal, ready for departure. We'd like to remain in the pattern. And they're going to say, King Air 123, taxi to runway 31 via Mike Foxtrot. So we're going to read back, King Air 123, taxi via Mike Foxtrot. So now we have our taxi clearance. At this point, we're going to, they're not going to give us a transponder code because we're going to fly VFR for this one. Have I used a transponder in this? Yes, it's down there. So, we are actually going to turn transponder to on. We're going to squawk VFR, which is 1200. So, if we were going to stay within their control and we're actually going to do a cross-country flight, they'll probably give us a number. We put it in that box to make sure that we are on, not just on, but altitude. That tells them both what altitude we are at and where we are at. Gives them a couple different pieces of information like our speed and everything else. So, now, that was the before taxi. It doesn't really have a taxi. They forgot a couple things, like turning this guy on, and these two need to come on. That's EFIS. Okay, they did put that on. Elevator trim needs to come on. They don't put that on there. Rudder boost also needs to come on. That's fine. I like to change this to wind. I like knowing where the wind is, and that's about it. Autopilot panel we don't need right now. Flight director I like to have it on, but it's not exactly useful at the moment because, well, we're not telling it we're going to do anything. So, we are ready to taxi. The parking brake is actually right here, but you can also release it via the foot pedals. Now, in this aircraft, it has enough torque that it will actually pull you forward very quickly, very easily. So, we're going to have to be on the aircraft and be ready for it. We're going to look out the aircraft because we don't care too much about in the aircraft. Brakes on, that releases the parking brake. We're going to go right from here. So normally you would want pushback. We don't have that. We're a small airline. So we are going a little bit of throttle, full right rudder. We're going to get ourselves out. And we are going to taxi this way. We're going to join up with Mike, which is the far right exit. And then we're going to head over to... He gave us Mike Foxtrot, which basically is an up and then an over. So, we are going to join this taxiway. So I'm actually at idle on the throttle right now, and we're still going forward. We're also not going to slow down. So, follow these lovely little lines. Try not to make everybody sick. So that's Mike. So we're going to join Mike. So this checklist did exclude a couple of things, and we need all of the things. So if you are using this checklist, do not forget to turn on your instruments, the EFIS as well as the trim power and the rudder boost, because you're going to need both those. The rudder you can still work because it's a simulator, so it will still work and it doesn't add increased pressure. If you had a simulator that had back pressure on the rudders, you would be kind of in trouble because it's going to push like crazy. You have to be putting massive amounts of pressure on those rudder pedals. So, a little hard on the brakes there. But yeah, you want to turn rudder boost on, or else you're going to have quite a lot of trouble controlling it, and I don't think the autopilot will actually be able to control it. I'm talking to you guys instead of driving. So, we've talked to them, we've gotten taxi clearance. We have not gotten takeoff clearance, and I completely forgot to tune in the frequency. So normally you're going to want to do a run-up, which means you actually go brakes on, you bring it up, you look at all the temperatures, you're going to do a couple of control checks and other things. It doesn't have it in there, so we're going to have to develop a more thorough, realistic check. They actually have the C90 real operating manual out there, so we're going to have to find that and use that. So, I'm going to look. Colorado Springs Tower is on 119.9. Assume we're talking to ground. But we're going to go to
Colorado Springs Muni information.
Yeah, I'd like to keep that in there, but oh well. 119.9, so the little one does the little one. 119.9, switch that over. And Springs Tower, King Air 123, holding short, runway 31, ready for takeoff. We'd like to depart to the north. And they're going to say King Air 123, cleared for takeoff, runway 31. Northbound departure approved. Stay clear of the arrivals. Voila. So they're just going to kind of give you whatever information you need. They're going to tell you climb 8,000 feet. So we're at this point clear. So we're going to run through this guy. Levers high idle. They recommend 5 degrees down on the flaps. So this is the flaps gauge. They recommend 5 degrees. We're going to go to the first notch because there's no way to get 5 degrees. We should have run lights for taxi. We need landing lights on, navigation lights on, and our recognition lights on. Alright, lights are on. We are configured. Transponders on and set. Autopilot is off. Flaps set to approach. Oh, elevator to 5 degrees. Sorry about that. 5 degrees which way? 5 degrees nose up. Great. Okay, so 5 degrees nose up. Right there. And 5. Make sure we're clear. Nobody here that I can tell. Not like it's exactly good. So, now we would normally want to call Springs Tower. For takeoff, brakes on, props full forward, condition full forward. Somebody behind us? Yep. Don't hit me. Okay. And then we're going to go throttle full, and we're going to rotate at 90 knots, climb away at 100 plus. I think he's following me. He thinks he's got clearance too. Little does he know. Alright. Now that we're on, it says brakes on full. We've got plenty of runway, so we are going full throttle. Monitor engine temperatures. Monitor torque. All the little things. Make sure none of them go over red line. We don't have to put in any crosswind corrections. We'll cover those later. 90 knots, rotate. You're up. Woohoo! So we were at roughly 6,100 feet. When we took off, we're going to climb at blue line. Nice and gentle. And we're just going to trim as we go. 5 was actually a really good trim number. I'm surprised. So he cleared us up to 8,000. We are... You want to turn between 800 and 1,000 feet above the ground. Jets are a little different. There's 900, so we're going to make a 30-degree of bank, right-hand turn to the north. We're going to follow powers up. That'll be fun. And he gave us 8,000. Well, I gave us 8,000 for him. Just trying to be helpful. There it is. So, we are within 100 feet. We're going to pull back on the throttles a little bit. We're going to trim for level flight. Get a little bit more instruments in here. Set our course due north. And we're just going to fly around at 120 knots. Try and maintain within 100 feet, which is easier said than done. Yeah, so there is takeoff. We're pretty low altitude. We would hit the mountains and everything else if we kept at this spot. But that is how to start up the aircraft, how to taxi. We'll do it all on Pilot Edge at one point when we actually get to, you know, actually in the flying. We're going to do a cross-country flight later, but not yet, so that's when we'll probably introduce Pilot Edge. Yeah, because I don't tend to like disconnecting in the air. So, next video is going to be climbing to cruise, going on, well, we'll cover pattern work next time. You guys are going to need, well, not need, but you guys are going to want a little pattern work, so we're going to do that next time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, hopefully you learned a little bit, and we will see you guys in the next episode.